stop the downward descent into a 7-3 record. Of course, they were 7-0, lost to RA, then lost to Ultra Prime. And we now starting to see these picks coming in, but WE got themselves two of the most broken champions at the moment in the game. They got the Viego and the Gwen. All they had to give up was the Lee Sin.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't seen Shanks play the Viego, so imagine this Viego's going towards Beishang. You get Breathe on towards the Gwen on the top side. And honestly, I think Breathe has been the shiny light for WE. This guy has been a monster. I love how strong he is in lane. His impact in teamfights is great. And hell, even if he gets a bit of free time in that top lane, oftentimes you'll see him just wandering into the opponent's jungle, stealing away a camp, stealing away a red buff or a blue buff, and making things just more difficult for the opposition jungler. So I love that Breathe now is on a champion where he has that carry potential.
Going with the Aphelios is fine, but the Nautilus combination with it is very curious to me. There is a good bit of heal, but you don't have that inherent safety that you do have with the Thresh, of course, with the Dark Passage. And I'd be curious to see now where LNG tend to look in this bot side, if at all, if it does end up kind of becoming a scrappier affair in bot side.
So this is actually something that LNG tend to do, where they'll play hyper aggressive supports and also kind of AD carries, whether they're supposed to be aggressive or not, to guarantee a scuttle for Tarzan. Because Tarzan tends to actually start topside path down towards bot and play off of like Lwandy. You've gone towards more picks like the Kalista, the Varuses, I mean hell, even the Jinxes when they have it, just because they usually pair that Jinx into a pretty nice range advantage in that bottom lane. So even though we'll get this kind of aggressive support in the bot lane, I don't expect Tarzan to actually put a lot of attention towards the bot side. It's more about facilitating Tarzan and his early clear.
See what they want to go for. Of course, WE now banning away those solo laners. They don't know where that Lee Sin is going just yet. Could go to Ale or Icon. Now just banning away certain things that might do well into the likes of a Viego in the mid lane. So the Blanc does relatively okay into it. It's a nice little pickup for them if they were able to get it, put it banned away. And now they're just really thinking about this final ban. It is going to be the Silas. And I actually really like this ban because it takes away a lot of that AP solo lane threat that they would like to combo up with the Lee Sin.
Yeah, I think there's still a lot of flexibility here with the Lee Sin. You can go towards Ale, can go Tarzan. So I'm still curious to see where this Lee Sin ends up. But I'm surprised to kind of see although Silas does work great as a bruiser opportunity, there's a lot of really good matchups for him in that mid lane. And for WE here, it feels like you just take your support, keep that counter pick for Shanks in the mid lane, and then you're relatively fine. So yeah, we're going to see it here. Alistar locked in, and now we got to see, what's the game plan here for LNG as a blind pickable mid laner.
Yeah, still yet to see if it was locked in, but the Alistar very much a missing champion. And good enough to stop all the hard engage. If someone does get caught out by a hook or by a Lee Sin Sonic Wave, they are able to get them away. The Headbutt Pulverize very good at just peeling for the rest of the carries. And LNG, what do you want to round this composition off with? Where do you want to take this one now? You're waiting on your kind of solo lanes.
I'd imagine it's a Rise. This has kind of been the fall back mid lane champion. It still gives AP damage, like especially when you're looking at like Silas, LeBlanc, Akali. I mean, even when you look towards the other mid laners that we've seen kind of rise up are like Set in that mid lane, Lee Sin in that mid lane, but I imagine it'll be the Rise. You get the opportunity then to position yourself correctly for a lot of these fights. You can even use the Realm Warp to very quickly move in towards the barn if you want to, but it looks like they are going to actually go with this solo lane Lee Sin, and it will be the Diana jungle coming in instead.
Like this pick, I think the Diana jungle has slowly made herself into the upper echelons of the LPL meta, as we wait to see now exactly where they're going. Only the second time that the Icon will be piloting the Lee Sin, has got a 100% win record with it. I do believe that was, I can't actually remember exactly who it was against, but did very well in that particular game.
Okay.
And see what they want to go for. Interesting picks coming in right, left, and center. I'm liking this Fiora though, because this is a breed specialty if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, and it's a really strong matchup into the Camille. Camille finds it so tough to deal with the riposte. You get a bunch of damage that can come out. You've true damage as well, which the Camille is going to struggle with, and it means that it's a pretty difficult time for Ale. The only thing I will say is that we've seen these side lane split pushers kind of fall off because of the amount of objectives that are in the game. and you need now Breed to get ahead so we can build that Gore Drinker and still be relevant. I'm curious though if this may be actually a whole breaker game coming through for Breed. This might actually be the game that we see it come out.
Last time, of course, we saw Breathe play the Fiora. It was up against BLG in I can't remember exactly, I think it was spring, I believe, 2021. And it was a loss. And funny enough, actually, he's 3 wins, 4 losses out of 7 games. So not having the greatest of win records, looking to equal that one out a little bit for himself. And I'm curious now with WE going for this very set split push composition. The Fiora is built for the side lane. Is this just a straight up counter or answer, could you say, for the Camille, or is there something more to it?
Oh, she destroys her. Fiora absolutely annihilates Camille in that lane. Like, it's so hard for you to actually trade effectively as Camille, because even if it's like, look at the kit, right? You try and go through the, with the tactical sweep, Fiora is able to dodge it with her Q. She actually gets in on top of you, which means that you're not able to get all that healing and stuff. It's really difficult for Camille to try and push up towards the lane, because the trading pattern for Fiora is so quick that it's really hard to try and get the double proc of your Q off. And even if you try and get the hook shot in on top of her, she just riposts it, you're stunned, and she opens up with the ult and kills you. It is really, really hard for Camille in this matchup. So I think for the early stages of the game, it's going to be a lot of attention coming through from WE towards this top side of the map, trying to facilitate Breed to win out in this lane. And then we'll have to see if WE can actually use their pressure on the map to try and get some sort of pressure towards these objectives. I'm kind of caught between a rock and a hard place with the Ezreal lock in here, because traditionally when I think about these kind of plays, it's like, cool, Ezreal, you can just leave in bot lane. It means you're free to put your attention towards that top side of the map. But when you end up in a situation where LNG now could potentially start to stack up these early dragons and put pressure on towards Breed, that makes it a hell of a lot tougher then for WE to avoid these fights and let Breed play through a side lane.
I think with this particular game, we should see a lot of cross-map trading. Both these teams fairly good at knowing when and where they cannot take a fight. They'll generally just leave it alone. So might see Rift Herald for first dragon, a tower for a tower, plates for plates, and they'll tend to lean towards their stronger side, and it's about whichever the weak side is being played to. They need to play defensively. And speaking of playing defensively, this is exactly what we talked about for the Alistar. You try and get someone engaged upon, he's got the pulverize, it should be fine to be able to take those fights and those engages all day, every day.
Yeah, and just to add on to that, I think this is going to be a slow-paced game. Like, look at the 2 junglers. Tarzan, he ain't want to go towards a lane until he's got his level 6. Beishang as well kind of needs his team to facilitate him, and he really wants access to that needlework as well. So it's going to be a slower game as we wait for these junglers to try and come online. And certainly, like, the scaling aspect on both these sides too means that it's going to be quite a bit before we actually get these two trying to go head-to-head.
Just mentioning the scaling aspect, and is this something about the meta that I've loved recently? We are moving away from tanks, which are those longer engages. We are seeing more bruiser / assassin style champions being picked up, and it does feel a lot more exciting. You can get in a Diana who just pops the absolute hell off and changes the entire landscape of the game, and vice versa on any other champion as well. Viego's, Gwen, Fiora all have the ability, and it just feels like right now the meta is in such a snowbally place that you can get away with the likes of a Fiora. You can look to try and just push in with this Camille and try and get her ahead, because it is at the moment a win condition within the meta.
Yeah, and the reason that we're seeing this so much is because of the AD carry meta. Like, think about the really strong AD carries right now. Varus, Aphelios, Jinx. I mean, even like Kalista and Kai'Sa to a certain extent as well. But these are all champions that are short range or super mobile. And it means that when you're playing things like Diana, LeBlanc, Camille, things that can, these assassins, Xin Zhao, that can all jump onto the backline and have access to kill these guys, you can turn the tide of a fight by instantly deleting the AD carry. So it's trying to find these opportunities to turn the fights instantly into a 4 versus 5, and then being able to spring out and stall out the game because the consistent damage is gone on the other team.
Very scrappy fight there on the bot side. We see the ignite going away from Lwandy, but it was the heal traded back by Elk. And again, we're seeing just more and more pressure.
That's an example of why we get to see more Ezreal. Like, you can see there, you get the engage, well, Ezreal Arcane shifts away. He's so self-sufficient that it makes things so much easier on that top side as...
Oh, seeing engage in the bot side, just has the arcane shift, exactly what you talked about, able to get away with it. TP being burnt in this top lane here as Ale in a little bit of trouble. Should be able to get out, no! 1-0, that is WE taking the advantage in top side.
There's so many times that Shanks has made this play. I'm surprised that LNG are surprised by it. There's been at least 3 or 4 times throughout the last series that W played that Shanks would just TP topside to facilitate breathe. And you can see it there. They get a really good turnaround there, managing to pick off Ale. Kill goes to Shanks, making sure that breathe is able to get towards that Iron Spike whip. And now you're in a good spot. Here's WE. Hell, even Beishang collects that mid lane wave.
They got it all covered, very nicely done. This was actually, you can see here, Ale going aggressive onto Breathe, but this riposte changes it all.
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened in the top lane trades that Breathe is actually so low. But as you can see, like, that riposte we talked about, how strong it is in this matchup. And then when you look towards it, Shanks tries to predict the flash, misses, but is able to follow with the flash anyway and finish off the Camille.
Nicely done there, and Shanks proving us wrong with the early game action. And actually, in fairness, it's wrong in the sense of that we said there would be none, but you specifically did single out the junglers as they were not involved in either of the plays, so still points to you, points to Robador, and as we move into the 5 minutes of this game,
Robador?
I don't know, I was thinking Gryffindor, and I was like Robador, but then, see,
I
again,
wasn't even sure if it was Massador. I was like,
yeah.
I don't know where we're going with this.
I'm gonna slur my words just so no one knows what I say. That's what great play-by-play casters do. Even
as an Irish person, I feel like we're great at that.
We are. We just trail off into a chuckle. Speaking of trailing off into a chuckle, Ale gets challenged down as Shanks is here. Does get land the Q on top of him, but Icon does not really want to engage that. This fight's all around the map right now, as we can see. There's Ezreal doing so much. The heal and the flash has to be invested here to keep Lwandy alive. Light does keep everybody at bay, but it's all getting a little bit testy right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of fights back and forth between the lanes. Breathe coming out on top in that top side. Light coming out on top in the bot lane. But again, like, we're not seeing a huge amount of movement coming through from LNG. We got WE TPing up with Shanks in that top side of the map. Icon never bothered to follow. And this was what we were talking about, right? Like, if Icon had actually gone towards that top lane play, would have been able to help turn that around. And when you look towards LNG, their solo laners and junglers have some of the lowest kill participation in their respective roles. You're looking at like 16th and below for all of them. And I think that's why when you look towards this early kill that's gone the way of WE, LNG could have helped to respond, could have had an answer, but we never really see it come out from them.
It does feel very solo queue-esque, shall we say. They were riding high on the momentum that they had from that, the ability to snowball, which we mentioned so many times, and now we're coming up to 7.5 minutes. They got 7.5 more to not be behind at 15 minutes because they are terrible when behind at 15 minutes. WE are great
30%.
when ahead at 15 minutes. Yeah, it's
30%
not great.
win rate combined. It's absolutely insane. They just do not look good at all. Whereas when you look at their win rate when they have a lead at the 15-minute mark, it is 92%. Like, they are so damn good at snowballing, but it is about snowballing. And again, it's the man on your screen that you're seeing right now, Lwandy, that needs to try and make these plays work, because he's the one that actually has that impact pre-15 minutes to try and set these up. Now, 8 minutes is on the clock. Rift Herald up and available. Elk is down at that bottom side, and LNG have already rotated Light up. So it looks like we are going to get a full rotate from LNG to try and commit towards this Rift Herald.
Got summoners available. The exhaust for Beishang. No flash for the Gwen. Pretty standard. You tend to go with a summoner spell alongside either the smite if you're a jungler or teleport if you're a top laner. Rift Herald has been started here by LNG. WE do not have Elk, and this is exactly what we talked about. There's the hook, and it'll land in between everybody. The breed gets caught out. Fiora is dead. They trade back the Nautilus, so it's a 1-for-1, 2-for-2, as this is just an all-out brawl. But this started out with a 4v5, and it looks like it's going to be WE coming out big on top. Out of a 4v5 situation, they get almost everything, and they're able to clean up house. Tarzan, in no way, shape, or form are you getting out of this one alive, buddy. I'm sorry, you are dead to rights. You're just going to try and have to get away from this Beishang, but he's got himself to turn back. He should be able to kill him off. There's a smite. But again, not much you can do. As I say that, ooh, okay, I got a little scared. Right towards the end there. But the important thing is, for the side of WE, they do get all the kills. They lose the Rift Herald, but they get the fight.
How do I pause the game on LNG's behalf? That hook was... I'm not broadcast... How does that hit Breed? In what world does that hit Breed? That is stupid. I'm sorry. That needs to be paused. That's a bug. There is no world that hits Breed. And the whole reason that fight goes so poorly is because Breed tries straight off the bat. Like, he doesn't riposte that because, like a normal human being, he realizes that a straight line can't be drawn between him and Nautilus.
Well, again, it still went in WE's favor. For LNG, they landed the boogie hook, the lollipop, getting in their favor, but it was all for naught, as those are a lot of kills now onto the Viego and the Gwen. Those are two champions you do not want to be giving golden experience to. That is a rift maker already for a jungle Gwen. That is an absurd amount of money already.
And this is where you start to see WE becoming dangerous, right? This is where we start to see a lot of them starting to push in through their strong lanes, get that vision control in the enemy jungle, and then looking for these picks. So, especially when Elk is on things like this Ezreal, you open up Missing to link up with Beishang and try and facilitate that stall. And you can see it already, right? Shanks shoves in mid. He starts to move over with Beishang and make sure that Beishang's able to continue with this lead.
And Beishang is someone... historically, when looking at WE, we've always looked to as this big carry threat, this person who can be a thorn in the side of every other team in the league. He's been a bit muted, a little bit quiet of recent days, but this feels like it can come back. If they can continue to put him on the likes of Gwen, Viegos, these carry-style champions, he should be able to drag his team up to the, you know, the playoffs and beyond from there.
And I think that's why we're seeing Shanks back in the roster. When you look at Mo versus Shanks and facilitating Beishang, Shanks is definitely better at it. He's more than happy to move out of lane. I mean, we just talked about him constantly going for these TP plays towards Breathe. Shanks is more situated to go for... Oh, hang on. Here's that pick.
Yeah, they're going to go for something here. There's the needlework being used. Lwandy. That hook was not... That was... He thought he got the same physics where he was able to get around the corner and bend the bullet and wasn't able to sadly get himself out of that particular situation. Icon does not take a favorable trade in the mid lane, ends up losing his ultimate in the trade. And Shanks should be able to push this one up. And this is feeling a little bit like draft diff right now. The Gwen, the Viego, these champions are just so strong. You can't give up two of them onto one team.
Yeah, and look, it's execution difference as well, right? Breathe has had full control bot. Shanks gets that TP up top side. And we literally just talked about, hey, look, WE, they're going to go for picks in your jungle. They're going to bring Missing along, and they are going to make this work. And we see it there. And even though you have Tarzan with a little bit of support, it's not enough when you've just got numbers advantages for WE. And this is being where WE are most confident when they have these pushing lanes, when they have advantages in lanes and can use them.
Well, we're going to see the Grand Challenge put down after the Hextech Ultimatum alongside the Moonfall. The flash in and flash away. We're going to see the riposte. Nicely done by Breathe. Oh, that was perfection.
Very well done. And even managing to get that last vital onto Ale gives him a nice little bit of a healing, so you don't end up with flashes coming through from Ale because he won't be able to finish him off with the precision protocol. TPs, as you say, though.
The TPs are coming in. This is going to be Shanks and Breathe coming back into this fight. It's a 4v3. I don't know if they've anywhere to go. The flash has been committed there by Ale, but a two-man pulverize. They can continue this one underneath the tower and pick up the Diana. That is an easy pick up there for the side of WE. And now they can pay back in kind the plates they just lost in top.
Yeah, now Icon will answer in that mid lane, so he's able to get something back. May actually look for a play down towards this bottom side. Maybe look for that counter map play that we talked about that we have been missing from LNG, but WE coming out huge on that play.
Really, really nicely done there by WE. You can see Icon just trying his best to be as annoying as possible. Just land the Sonic Wave, and you can see there Elk just being very aggressive, going forward with the Arcane Shift, not exactly the brightest of ideas when you literally have zero support, but the support is now in the lane, and they are able to trade back the tower plates they got lost in top and mid for a full tower in the top side. And looking at the gold, it is a 5,000 gold lead, or just under it, for the side of WE, and this is the big problem now. 15 minutes in, this is a big, big lead for them.
And we said that we needed to see attention towards Breathe to make sure that this Fiora is ahead so she can be relevant in a side lane, but also relevant when it came towards these team fights. Gore Drinker completed. 5,600 gold on this Gwen. Like, that's 200 over his opponent here. He is so damn strong. And that's only matched by Beishang and Shanks. Like, look at how much gold has just been put into this top half of the map for WE. When you come towards these early skirmishes, like at Rift Heralds, at Dragons, the melee style from WE is going to destroy LNG.
Looking at LNG, they just have no items right now. They just finished up the Gore Drinker and the Kraken Slayer for Icon and Light respectively, but Ale sitting with a couple of half items, Tarzan waiting to pick up his Proto Belt. They're just not in a position to be able to fight this, and I like this call from Team WE saying, look, we don't need to play towards bot side. We got the first dragon. We would rather gold and power now, so we're going for the second rift.
Yeah, and usually one of the biggest problems that you see with a Gwen jungle is, hey, you know, you don't get your items fast enough. Well, when you have the most gold in the game, that doesn't really become a factor anymore. Getting your mythic item before most of the solo laners and the opponents looks like it's going to go pretty well for WE. Now, even defending off on this bottom side, Elk now moving back towards mid to get priority there, and Beishang can either take turret and then just swap over towards this dragon.
They have total control over the top side of the map, and they're going to try and transition that into the bot side as they just kind of absorb all of this gold and experience. They're not stopping just yet. The dragon has just spawned, but they know they can get a second charge off and create maybe a little bit more pressure into this mid lane. And again, Team WE, this is why we always have such high hopes for this team coming into the split. This is why we always love to see them. And even more so when Mole was added. Yes, fair enough, it didn't work, but it just felt like this team should be a lot better, and when they play like this against a team like LNG, who is sitting 7-2, it just feels right that this team should be considered a top playoff team.
Yeah, and the thing that we're seeing here again is that, like, think about these early plays. A lot of them have involved Shanks, and unfortunately with Mole on the roster, he hasn't had that same impact. I'm not saying that Shanks is a better player. I know that Mole is a better player and, like, better in lane, but Shanks being more willing to have impact off towards these side lanes, teleport towards the top side to facilitate Breathe, has found a lot more success for WE. Hell, even the way that he plays towards Beishang and Missing. So you can see that WE are going back towards what's been their tried and true. Get these dominant laners, go then take that in towards picks in the opponent's jungle, and then consistently use the pressure you have between Breathe and Shanks to force numbers advantages onto the opponent. And LNG just have not been in a position to try and counteract this all game long.
And honestly, just to mention on your Mole point, you know, it is the thing of, we've seen super rosters come together. We see the best of the best in regions be put onto a team, and sometimes it just doesn't work. It's nothing to do with anybody in particular. It's just how the team dynamic is set up, and sometimes that team dynamic just doesn't really mesh that well. And
it's really
clearly,
surprised.
Yeah, because Mole is a great upgrade.
Yeah, and that's the thing. For V5, Mole was that player, right? Mole would always be talking about, like, the trifecta of Mole, PP God, Wei. It was that trio that worked incredibly well. However, this time around, we're not getting that. And it's strange to see that Mole hasn't been able to slot into this team in the same manner that a lot of people were hoping for. But it does mean that WE, at least in this game, with Shanks looking super strong. You see 3 kills already picked up. He's got that Divine Sunder quickly working towards that Sterk's Gauge. And when he does, he's going to be nigh on impossible to kill here for LNG, just with how far ahead he is.
LNG glad, though, that there has been no fighting for the last few minutes, as they are now picking up their first items. Proto Belt and the Divine Sunder are picked up for the Diana and Ale's Camille, respectfully. Now we see Icon. Are you too far forward here, my friend? He's actually just going into the alcove. Real alcove gaming right now. Beishang has revealed himself on a ward. Breathe is here, but the rest of LNG are moving down. So this would be a 4v4 for the moment. You have got Shanks and Ale up in that top side, both with TP. So do they want to go for it? It's actually Icon who's looking for the flank, and This could be a bit of a bad move. There it is. There's the kick, but no real follow-up there. And a lot of posturing, not a lot of action.
Again, nothing gained by LNG. Wave goes into tower, will be collected. And honestly, kind of that's nothing for either side. I'm looking, though, at the next 2 minutes, right? Because you can see here, Shanks struggling to actually push out this wave so far against Ale. Might not be able to get full control of this top side of the map. And with Dragon in 2 minutes, these waves would really need to be in order for WE so they can go and look for a pick before that fight kicks off, or so they can just use that numbers advantage again to threaten the objective.
Oh, speaking of it being threatened, Beishang has to go aggressive onto Ale and threaten that there is the Viego coming. Now he's here, so they can maybe look for something. The Hextech Ultimatum has been used and it's immediately used to flash away. They will not be able to take that Scuttlebug, but the grand challenge onto Icon, there is no escaping you here. You used your Dragon's Rage kick. You cannot disengage from this, and Breathe in the side lane gets himself a solo kill.
Flash for flash, and Breathe is able to finish him off, and this is now where issues are spawning for LNG. TP needs to be used by Camille just to stop that top lane turret from falling, but it does give Breathe time to reset, and WE, with 2 members essentially gone from the top side of the map, they turn towards the Baron.
They're fully committing to this as well. They've got the TP coming in. There's a Scryer's Bloom to try and just scout it out. They now know what's going down, but this Baron is taking so much damage so quickly. You can see they're missing. He's on keep away duty. He does not care if he dies. He just needs to keep the jungler out, and he does his job beautifully. Not only that, but he gets to keep his life and get rid of Tarzan's as well. This is WE tearing LNG to shreds.
And was it worth it, LNG? Was it worth it keeping that bottom tier 1 when Baron goes across towards WE? This is what we were talking about. Cross-map plays, anything that comes from decision-making when they're behind. LNG just do not have it. And now, Baron in the hands of WE. Dragon in 30 seconds, which is will put WE into sole point, and an 8,000 gold lead. WE are so far ahead, and we're going to get this replay here. Like, Breed just chases him down. When he's able to hit on with a couple of these dashes, he gets the reset, means that he's able to close the distance on towards Icon, and no matter how slippery you are, there's no getting away from the Fiora like this.
This is just such smart play from Missing. This is why I love seeing him on this Alistar pick, because he's able to be aggressive. He's able to put himself into harm's way and still survive and do his job. Now with the Baron being taken, they're going towards his bot side. TP going to be committed here by Icon, who was split pushing on the top end. There's a good Moonfall though, lands on the 3. They're going to land the Moonlight Vigil, try to get that double moon combination going for them, but they're not quite able to take down Beishang. There he goes. He's finally down. This Ezreal though, still very healthy, putting out those Mystic shots. This Fiora still trying to do the damage. They're going to go in, trying to be aggressive. It's a double kill on top of this Ezreal for Elf, and we can see now they're going straight into the Fiora. Ale, will he have given up his life for it though? It's a 3v3, but you have a Viego, you have an Ezreal, you have so many ways of resetting this fight and taking it all away. You're all alone. You are the light in the darkness for LNG Light, but you will not be able to take this win, and that turret does eventually fall.
Shanks is too strong, able to finish off so many low health members, and even though you get some fancy plays coming through from LNG, WE are just too strong. They're just hitting them with their wallets right now. Dragon up and available, will be taken by WE alongside 2 turrets, and it is very quickly just eviscerating in their hands for LNG. They are evaporating in their hands. They're just not able to hold on to this game at all.
Yes, you get a shutdown onto the Gwen. That's great. Beishang did go down, but I'm look at this replay, and it starts off looking like WE are going for the play, but they respect the TP, and then it just comes out into an all-out brawl.
Yeah, so there was a lot invested to try and get on towards Ale. So nice job by him to get the hook shot, to get out of the knockup coming through from Missing. Means that there's no Fiora ultimate in this spot as well. And again, like, Ale did play this fight incredibly well. It's just people are too far ahead at this stage. Breathe gets Tarzan out of the way, so Elk's able to finish him. And even here, watch Ale does go onto the wall and holds off on the riposte before he engages on towards Breathe. So able to actually do some nice work here. But again, Shanks is huge. Elf is free firing this entire time, completely untouched, and Light is kind of playing ring around the rosy as he tries to catch up to all these different skirmishes that have burst open.
You're on the Aphelios, and again, props to Light. He's 2-1-2, and a very difficult game that has been for him, and having so many threats jumping onto his face, he is able to keep himself healthy and dealing damage. But like you mentioned, you're 8,000 gold behind, or 7,500 gold behind, and You're looking at a Fiora that's split pushing. You're looking at the damage from the Qs of this Ezreal now with that frozen heart. It just becomes so difficult to really do anything about it.
And I mean, look, Knight has been the mainstay damage for this team for quite a while.
Oh, missing. Does he go down? He does! Moonlight Vigil enough to take him down. I thought it was Ale who got himself caught, but it was actually the opposite effect as such. And we can see now WE just need to be a little bit more careful. There's still plenty of damage there for LNG.
Yeah, and especially because they are such short range as well. It means that they do have to enter in towards Light's domain to try and get these plays off. And especially as we were talking about, like, Light has 27% of this team's damage. He's no pushover when it comes towards his damage output. And especially on this Aphelios, where he will be getting towards this Infinity Edge fairly quickly, you do still have to give him some respect. 3 kills, he's not that far off when you look at the relative gold in this game. So as long as WE are avoiding just running in towards Light, playing out through this 1-3-1 style, they should be relatively okay, especially because they're the ones in full control of the dragons. Like, the way LNG want to force WE into fights is through dragons, is through objectives like Baron, but unfortunately nothing is up at the moment, and it's been WE who have gotten full control of pretty much everything in this game.
Well, 2.5 minutes until that Dragon Soul spawns, but before that we got 1 minute and 15 for that Baron. It's crazy to say, considering how quick in the game it was taken. Normally we'd be looking at the Baron right now, not waiting for it to respawn. As we now look and see what these two teams want to do about it. You're kind of hitting a good break point here for Light. I don't know if he's going to have enough gold in him to get that Infinity Edge finished up before this Baron, and you really do need it. We talk about it so much, we harp on about it all the time, but 3-item Aphelios is a threat, and Light has been playing these team fights well. Light is going to be someone who will be a threat if he's able to get that 3rd item before this Baron fight.
Well, it's too late anyway. I mean, you got to reset at 50 seconds or you're just going to be late to the party. It takes it 30 seconds to walk from base to the edge, and actually it looks like Light is going to go for the reset. So if WE are in a position to start this up straight away, potentially could. Infinity Edge, I'm assuming, built. There it is. But now WE will get control over the objective. They'll be able to get this deep vision, and it looks like they're not even interested in Baron. They know that Soul is more important, and they can just have Beishang or even Breathe, honestly, solo out that dragon and keep threat towards the Baron so LNG can take it.
Lwandy, I don't know if he wanted to take that buff after it went in. We're going to see a fight over the red buff, completely engaged on by the side of WE, and the TP committed as well. There's Lwandy dead and buried. Camille dead, gone, back to the grey screen, and now Elk feeling confident, feeling ferocious as he goes forward. They're going to try and turn this one around. Light gets caught. He will not be doing any more damage. That Infinity Edge will do you nothing good here, my son. And it's a clean ace for the side of WE. They don't care about the dragon. They don't care about the Baron. They'll barrel up the mid and take the game.
Yeah, LNG have such weird calls on when they want to fight. It's not Baron, it's not Dragon, it's a red buff that they throw away this game for. But honestly, it was all done and dusted regardless. WE now will push in for the win.
They will. You can see there, the riposte just good enough to bring him out. The double ace in as many seconds. And that is going to be the Nexus falling. WE 1-0 up over LNG. And the boat's starting to come apart, Dagda, for LNG.
And this is what we talked about. We said, hey, look, for LNG, WE is a great matchup for them. WE like to play through Shanks, helping out Breathe in that top side, Beishang getting involved in his lanes. So it meant that when we got towards these when we got towards the lane phases, the individual performances that LNG tried to go for can't match up to the numbers. Then again, because you're playing very separated, it gives WE the opportunity to go for these picks. We talked about missing roaming up, playing through this top side with Beishang, and from that point forward, it was just pick after kill, after team fight, after objective, until eventually there's just nothing left in the tank for LNG.
It just really felt exactly like you said. Everyone was playing to their win condition rather than playing to the team's win condition for LNG. But for WE, it just works with Shanks. It really does just work. Breed had a fantastic game. I think Beishang clearly looks far more comfortable when he's being on these more facilitative mid laners who will roam with him. And Elk, despite playing PvE for majority of the game, was enabled in these later game team fights to just free fire.
Yeah, I mean, that's all he needs to do, right? You don't actually need to play towards the Ezreal in this situation. Just get him to 2 items and have him be relevant to that stage. It was more important, as we said, get Breathe ahead. Because if you end up in a situation where it's like Breathe versus Ale in a team fight, and they're even, I take the Camille 9 times out of 10. Just because it makes it so much easier to go in with a Hextech ultimatum. She can facilitate people like Tarzan, hell, even peel for people like Light if you really want to. But because Breathe was super far ahead, this was done and dusted for WE from pretty much this get-go.
And honestly, I gotta say, you can even see there from the damage numbers, Icon was invisible. Icon did nothing on this Lee Sin pick, and I really do think that, yes, it's great that he has this champion ocean of things, and he has so many things, he's played so many different unique picks this year so far, but I feel like he needs to just, if he's going to play for himself, he needs to pick for himself, because picking for your team and then looking for these kicks that no one was really engaging on, and you've lost your kick, which then led to him dying, which then led to the TP bot, which then led to the 20-minute Baron. It's literally a snowball effect that a butterfly effect that kind of ripples down the game. And I gotta say, WE, I tend to get a bit too excited for them. I do actually really like this team, and so does Munchables, as we are all well aware, but this does feel like a team that is finding its stride in the later half of the split.
I mean, look, coming back to your Icon point, I want to see Icon doing something on the map that is before the 15-minute mark. Like, the first time we actually saw him try to make a play was like 18 minutes into the game, where he's down bot side and he tries to make that kick, ends up messing it up, and literally 2 minutes later dies and gives Baron over because of the TP play from bot side. So I don't understand why, when we saw that TP coming through from Shanks in the top lane, Icon isn't like, cool, if we actually pick up a kill or 2 kills here, that completely changes the tide of that top lane, and we can then look to exploit that and actually have a win condition for LNG in this game. It feels like so many times, again, LNG to focus on their own lane and not focused enough on what they could be doing elsewhere on the map.
Yeah, really just feel a little bit disjointed for LNG. We'll see if they're able to bounce back from that loss, or if W will be taking home a sweet 2-0. We're going to throw it to a quick break, and when we return, pick bans. We'll be right around.